Will we see John Duggan on our Skype screens again? Probably not.
This might be the last proper look we ever had at him. He was on Russia Today yesterday. Have a look.
We're joined live in the studio now by John Duggan. He's a writer from Ireland's daily sports show, Off the Ball. John, thanks for joining us in the studio today. It's your first time, obviously, in St Petersburg, in Russia as well. What have your impressions so far been of the atmosphere of the country?
Well, Daniel and Lisa, thanks for having me on your show. I've been here a month and a day. This is my 6th city, and I've been to 14 matches, and I've had an amazing time in Russia as a journalist and as a football fan. Russia, I have to say, since the very beginning has been exceptional in terms of the organisation, in terms of the metro systems, getting people in and out of grounds. Obviously, there's a huge police presence, and that can work in both positive and negative ways, but it's worked. I've felt extremely safe. Obviously, you're going around with your person on you, you have your passport, you have your accreditation, you've got your money on you, and I felt extremely safe at all times. I feel like it's a very modern country, very technologically advanced. And I feel that people have been friendly, but I think that's the case anywhere you go. If you went to Australia for a World Cup, if you went to England for a World Cup, you went to the United States, it'd be the same everywhere. Ordinary people are the same everywhere you go in the world, and I think that Russian people have know that the spotlight of the world is on them. If you're given the World Cup as a country, you have to host it in this way, and Russia have succeeded in hosting it in a very open and friendly way, which is what the world expects and what the world has seen here, and obviously the football's been great as well.
Yeah. Russia Today have much better connection to Russia than Off the Ball do for some reason. John, good morning to you. You're back.
Yeah, Jaron Owen. I mean, for the most part, this has been great, but you just might hit a black spot on these trains and then you're gone. So it could happen 5 or 6 times. It could not happen at all. But to be fair, I think our connectivity has been pretty good for the last month. So we're going to have these things that happen eventually, and it happened today. That's
fine. So it's a 10-hour journey. What's that trip been like? Is it full of happy French people making that trip to Moscow in anticipation of the World Cup final? Are they already there? Did they hang around in St Petersburg for a little bit longer? Who's on the train with you?
Many journalists. I think the way it's being booked, Ger, you're in a sleeper compartment. So we got on at 4 a.m. local time, and I did the diary, which you can see on offtheball.com, but you're getting a couple of hours, just should I. I haven't seen any French here. I was disappointed last night with the atmosphere around the ground. Went down to the Winter Palace, the square there about 6 o'clock, 3 hours before the game, didn't see anybody. Was expecting, a lot of colour and fun and people maybe playing the drums outside the ground in St Petersburg. Didn't see any of it. More probably noise from Brazilian fans expected to be there than French and Belgians. Possibly only a couple of thousand French, a couple of thousand Belgians in the ground. Empty seats. Once again, disappointing for a World Cup semi-final, but a good game and a deserved victory for France, I think.
That is a real pity that there are so few people from the competing countries. I would expect a bit more tonight, that Croatians have maybe hopefully made the journey at the last minute, that a bunch more England fans have decided to take the risk and go to Moscow for the World Cup final.
Yeah, and also the fact that the final is in Moscow as well on Sunday, you can make a week of it. They put out extra flights from London. There's enough people. Unfortunately, money it gets in the way, and it's a pity that it is so expensive to get out here. But I expect a lot more Croatian and English fans here in Moscow this evening when I get there at the Luzhniki Stadium. It's a 78,000 capacity, bigger capacity than St Petersburg. So I'd be very disappointed again if I saw empty seats. They've got to sort that out, and obviously the final. I just get the sense, lads, it gets a little bit more corporate at this stage of the tournament rather than carnival, and that's what I experienced last night. Now, luckily the game took away from any kind of view of that, but hopefully England and Croatia will bring it this evening.
Yeah, it's because there's so few countries involved. There's definitely far fewer opportunity for people who happen to be in the city for their own country to go to another game, take in another World Cup game, and that kind of ends the carnival atmosphere. Let's talk about the game itself. What did you actually make of the performance of the French?
Very good, Jaron Owen. I thought they, like a python, they just squeezed the life out of Belgium when they scored the goal through TG 51 minutes in. Belgium were good earlier on. Hazard was making progress on the left against Pavard. Had a couple of chances. Alderweireld then forced an excellent save at Loris 20 minutes in. But once France gained their composure in the second part of the first half, Pavard having a good chance himself, they began to turn the screw. I thought they were the balance through the team was exceptional. Varane from the back, leading from the back. I thought their midfield played very well. Matuidi had a good game. Pogba and Mbappé, as always. Kevin De Bruyne was kept quiet, they contained him. And Mbappé, of course, has got an outrageous talent going forward. So Griezmann played well, and I think through the whole team, it was a very accomplished, functional performance by the French, who look like the champions at the moment, lads. I think they've come on from 4 years ago, they've come on from the Euro final, and I was highly impressed by their performance.
Like, John, when we talk about France, we'll probably remember the Argentina performance as their best performance to date, notwithstanding whatever happens in the final. But I think last night goes a long way to kind of ditching the stereotypes around France football, where they have a great collection of individuals, but they never live up to the sum of their parts. And I think Paul Pogba epitomises why they are now the sum of their parts, the way he's able to kind of sacrifice a little bit of his own ego to a certain extent, and I think that's being a little harsh on him to a certain extent as well. But if we do say he's sacrificing a little bit of his ego, the way he's able to work very, very well in front of Varane and Umtiti alongside N'Golo Kante as part of a team that makes sense, he can be an excellent cog in a wheel, which I think sums up the new France that we're seeing under Deschamps.
Yeah, you got to give Deschamps a lot of credit for that. I don't think we necessarily knew if this would come with France. I think that's probably why they weren't tipped from a lot of people outright. I thought they'd go deeper in the tournament, but then Brazil seduced me. But if players are able to step up and realise that it is a World Cup, and you don't get many chances to do this, and you need to play for the greater unit rather than your individual self. Whereas a club game, players are often more indulgent, but agents are in their ear all the time. And Pogba last night was once again that kind of unseen presence on the pitch, doing the dirty work at times, containing that Belgian attack. As I said, De Bruyne was pretty anonymous all night. Hazard really tried Hazard. I feel sorry for him more than anybody else. But the attack didn't make an impact. Dembele was poor. Belgium were cynical at times. And I just got the feeling, the moment France scored, you just got the feeling they're just going to play this out. They're going to go into garbage time with the clock. And they did it for about 30 minutes. They let Belgium have the ball, but I always thought there was only going to be one winner. And then they could have got one or two more. I think Tolisso had a chance late on. Mbappé with an outrageous back heel for Giroud, who had an opportunity. But France they look very like 1998. They look very much a balanced team. They know what they're doing. They know their roles. And I'm just thinking about if England qualify for the final, Kylian Mbappé against Harry Maguire, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Kylian Mbappé is pretty good. I just there's a few things about French. I don't really feel like they've fulfilled all of their potential yet. That they've got a very controlled. Maybe they need to win this World Cup before we actually see the full flowering of the French talent. Someone like Griezmann, for example, hasn't sparked into life in the tournament in a way that it feels like he's capable of doing. And maybe there is a signature performance to come from them in the final. And they definitely feel like the best team in it. So anyway, let's park that, because I do want to talk to you a little bit about England and Croatia. Obviously, we're sitting here at a slight remove from the madness that's happening in England ahead of this game and the sheer joy that they're feeling as a football nation for the first time in a very long time. So how realistic are their hopes of victory tonight? Because on paper, Croatia are probably a better footballing team.
Yeah, just before I go on to that, Mbappé is out of this world to watch as a footballer. Out of this world, outrageously good. I was shouting when he got the ball. And also just on that, France in 2000 were a better team than they were in 98. Sometimes you need to get over the line to expand. In terms of England against Croatia, I think England need to use pace to beat them. That's Croatia are an aging team, one of the oldest in the competition. Obviously, they've got world-class players in Rakitic and Modric being the fulcrum Modric of the team. But they've had 2 extra time games. They're out on their feet against Russia at the end. They're a bit vulnerable from set pieces. England have to get down the flanks. Rashako is injured on the right side. The keeper might not play. And I think England have to get at Croatia early and down the flanks and use their pace in the team and use their strength in that 3-5-2. That's the way I think England can win the game. Get an early goal and get on top of Croatia. Because the longer it goes on, and the longer Croatia can get a foothold in the field for England, will have to battle, because it looks like Jordan Henderson could need some help. He can't do it all on his own. And then, of course, we haven't seen that the England back three be really tested in the tournament so far. And that's the England worry. So I think with England, it's about getting after Croatia early, down the flanks, using their pace, using the likes of young and Trippier's excellent dead ball ability, and getting Lingard and adding into the game to support Kane, who Croatia do not have a player like that. So that's what I think they need to do. Like.
There's a lot of comparisons doing the rounds, John, between this England team and Germany in 2002, just because of the easy route that Germany had in 2002 to the final. Like, when it comes to England, I get the feeling that this will be used as they will be tarred by this if they don't win tonight. They'll be tarred by the easy route they had to the semi-final. Whereas if they win tonight, that's all forgotten about. It's England back in a World Cup final for the first time since 1966. The Italian 90 team will still be held aloft above this team if they lose tonight because of the path they've had.
I don't really see it that way. I see it as they haven't got to a semi-final in 28 years. I think it's a big achievement. I think Germany were getting to quarters and semis before 2002. And I think that whatever happens, I think England can have a lot to look forward to for Euro 2020, which is the final of which is in London and Qatar. The average age is under 26 of their first 11. So once again, I think this England team has been a little bit underrated because of the performances of their national side in tournaments gone past, when you've had really good individual players who've not been able to gel as a unit. I think, as we've seen even last night, you have to be able to gel as a unit in international football and play with team spirit. That is hugely, but it's not the club game. It's not the same as the club game. So if Croatia are a good side, they were very good in the group. They've come through 2 different tests, but they're a good team. And if they lose with honour, I don't think there'll be a negative reaction to it. I think obviously the country's got problems. From the Jacob Rees-Moggs to the Danny Dyers, a lot of those players in the news, or start keeping in the news, and Gareth Southgate seems a bit of a hero and a breath of fresh air. Don't know if you're going to get your waistcoats, lads, probably a step too far, but yeah, it's. I think England, all they can do is do themselves proud and give it their best shot, but I think they're being tested. I think the thing that they haven't been tested. They're the better team against Colombia. They conceded the late goal. They had to roll up their sleeves and get on with it again. They nearly won in extra time. They won on penalties. England don't win penalty shootouts, and they're far the better team against Sweden. So the thing that they haven't been tested, they've got to a semi-final. All you can do is beat what's in front of you. And I think if they can get after Croatia early on, I just think by hook or by crook, lads, they're going to be in the final, which would be a great story, whether we want them to win or lose. A lot of us want them to lose. But I still think France have their one hand on the trophy.
John, great stuff. Enjoy the rest of your trip to Moscow. Thanks a million.
All right, I'll speak to you soon.
It's John Duggan there on the slow train from St Petersburg to Moscow.